At 61 years old, Melissa Gilbert finally opened her heart and told the truth about someone who deeply shaped her life, the legendary actress. Patty Duke. It wasn't a story of scandal or secrets. It was a story about honesty, courage, and the deep understanding that comes from living through both light and darkness. To understand why this moment was so powerful, we first have to go back to where Melissa's story began. Melissa Ellen Gilbert was born on May 8, 1964, in Los Angeles, California. Just days after she was born, she was adopted by actor and comedian Paul Gilbert and his wife, Barbara Crane. From the start, her world was surrounded by cameras, scripts, and spotlights. Hollywood wasn't just her hometown. It was her entire environment. Many children grow up playing in parks or riding bikes around their neighborhoods. Melissa grew up on film sets, watching actors perform, and learning what it meant to tell stories that touched people's hearts. She started acting at a very young age, appearing in commercials and small TV parts. But everything changed when she was just 9 years old. In 1974, Melissa landed the role of Laura Ingalls Wilder in the television series Little House on the Prairie. The show, based on the books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, told the story of a pioneer family living on the American frontier. It was a show about family, hope, and survival, and audiences loved it. Melissa's performance as Laura, known affectionately as Half Pint, captured the hearts of millions. Her natural sweetness and strong spirit made her character feel real and lovable. People saw their own daughters, sisters, childhood dreams in her smile. Working on Little House on the Prairie wasn't always easy, though. Melissa was surrounded by adults, long workdays, and the pressure of living up to a famous role. But she had mentors who guided her, especially Michael Landon, who played her father, Charles Ingalls. Landon became a father figure to her both on and off the screen. He taught her professionalism, hard work, and how to stay grounded in a business that often pulls people apart. The show ran from 1974 to 1983, becoming one of the most beloved series in television history. By the time it ended, Melissa was no longer a child. She was a young woman who had grown up in front of America's eyes. After Little House, Melissa continued acting in TV, movies, and shows. One of her most important roles came in 1979 when she starred in The Miracle Worker, the story of Helen Keller and her teacher, Anne Sullivan. In a beautiful twist of fate, Anne Sullivan was played by none other than Patty Duke, the same actress who had won an Academy Award years earlier for playing Helen Keller in the original 1962 film version. This was a rare moment where two generations of talent came together to recreate one of the most powerful stories ever told. For Melissa, working with Patty Duke was both thrilling and intimidating. Patty was already a Hollywood legend, known for her emotional power and honesty as an actress. But Melissa soon realized that behind Patty's strength was a woman who had faced more pain than most people could imagine. Patty had been a child star herself, starting her career when she was only 7. She became famous at a young age, but fame came with a heavy cost. Her childhood was filled with manipulation, pressure, and abuse from adults who were supposed to protect her. She later revealed that she struggled for years with undiagnosed bipolar disorder, something few people understood at the time. On set, Patty was focused, demanding, and incredibly talented. She pushed Melissa to dig deep emotionally to bring real truth to her performance. There were moments when Patty's energy was intense, even unpredictable, but Melissa learned from it. She saw in Patty a kind of bravery, the willingness to be open and vulnerable, to bring all of herself into every scene. What Melissa didn't realize then was how much she would come to understand Patty's struggles years later when she faced her own battles. As Melissa entered adulthood, her life took on new challenges. Fame that began as exciting started to feel like a burden. She worked constantly, but inside she sometimes felt lost. Like many young actors who grew up in the public eye, Melissa struggled to separate who she was from who people expected her to be. Her relationships became tabloid stories, her personal struggles made headlines, and the pressure never stopped. She married actor Bo Brinkman in 1988, and together they had a son, Dakota. But their relationship was rocky, and after 6 years, they divorced. A year later, Melissa met actor Bruce Boxleitner, best known for his roles in Scarecrow and Mrs. King and Tron. They fell in love and married in 1995. Together, they had a son named Michael, named after her late mentor, Michael Landon. Their marriage lasted more than 16 years, longer than most Hollywood unions. But even then, life was not easy. Both were busy actors, raising children and trying to balance fame and family. Eventually, their relationship ended in 2011. Through all this, Melissa continued to grow as an artist and as a person. She became president of the Screen Actors Guild in 2001, serving until 2005. In that role, she fought for fair pay, better health care, and more protection for actors trying to survive in a fast-changing entertainment world. It was a powerful moment that showed she was more than a performer. She was a leader. But behind the scenes, Melissa was also fighting personal battles. She struggled with addiction, insecurity, and health problems. In interviews and in her memoir, Prairie Tale, she spoke openly about how fame can twist reality and how hard it is to heal when everyone is watching. Like Patty Duke, she eventually chose to tell the truth about her struggles, not because it was easy, but because she knew it could help others in 2013. Melissa married actor and director Timothy Busfield. Known for his work in The West Wing and Field of Dreams, the two decided to leave Hollywood behind and move to a quiet town in Michigan. There, Melissa began to live differently. No red carpets, no paparazzi, just peace. She started writing, gardening, and restoring an old Victorian house. For the first time in decades, she found calm. She later said that moving away from Hollywood gave her the space to rediscover who she really was. That peace also gave her the courage to look back and to finally tell her truth about Patty Duke. When Melissa Gilbert finally spoke about Patty Duke, her words were filled with love, understanding, and deep respect. She said, "Patty Duke was one of the most fearless actresses I have ever seen. She had this power. She could make you forget you were watching a performance. It was like watching her soul." Those words came from experience. As a young actress, Melissa had admired Patty's strength and confidence. But what she didn't know then was the pain behind that strength. Patty's life had been full of struggle. She was pushed into fame as a child, controlled by adults who took advantage of her, and later diagnosed with bipolar disorder after years of emotional chaos. Instead of hiding it, Patty chose to speak openly about her mental illness. Helping to remove the shame and stigma that so many people faced, Melissa admitted that when she was younger, she didn't fully understand Patty's behavior. "We thought she was just intense," she said. "But as I got older and I lived my own ups and downs, I realized what she went through was nothing short of heroic." Patty's honesty became a guiding light for Melissa. When she faced her own struggles with addiction and identity, she remembered Patty's courage. How Patty had looked the world in the eye and said, "This is who I am." It gave Melissa the strength to do the same, she once said. "There were times when I felt like I was standing on the same edge Patty had lived on for years. Watching how she took control of her story gave me the courage to take control of mine." Melissa's words were not about gossip or drama. They were about connection. She wanted people to understand that behind every famous face is a real person, someone who feels fear, sadness, and pain just like anyone else. Patty was human, she said simply. People forget that. She wanted love, peace, and stability, just like the rest of us. In her 60s, Melissa has become a voice of honesty in an industry that often values image over truth. She speaks openly about aging, self-acceptance, and the importance of being real. Her reflections on Patty Duke are part of that honesty. She doesn't see Patty as a tragic figure, but as a survivor, a woman who faced her demons and still found a way to shine. Melissa ended her reflection with a message that feels deeply human. "If there's anything I've learned from Patty, it's that our struggles don't define us, they shape us. And if we can share them, maybe we can help someone else feel less alone." At 61, Melissa Gilbert isn't the little girl from Little House on the Prairie anymore. She's a woman who has lived a full, complicated, and beautiful life. She's faced pain and loss, love and success. But through it all, she has stayed true to the lessons she learned from her parents, from her mentors, and from friends like Patty Duke. Her truth reminds us that fame doesn't protect anyone from pain. But it also reminds us that pain doesn't erase beauty. Like Patty Duke before her, Melissa has found strength in vulnerability and grace in truth. In a world that often hides behind perfection, her voice gentle, honest, and brave stands out at the end of her story. Melissa's message is clear. Telling the truth isn't always easy, but it's the only way to truly heal. Patty Duke taught her that, and in sharing it with the world, Melissa Gilbert has passed that lesson on to all of us. Today, Melissa Gilbert stands as a woman who has learned from every chapter of her life. She often says that the real gift of growing older is perspective, the ability to look back, forgive yourself, and find peace in the things you once struggled to understand. At 61, she no longer chases fame or perfection. Instead, she chases authenticity, the simple joy of being real. When she talks about Patty Duke now, her voice carries both gratitude and sadness. Gratitude because Patty's honesty helped so many people, including Melissa herself, to face their own pain without shame. And sadness because the world lost a woman who had so much more wisdom to share. Patty Duke passed away in 2016, leaving behind a legacy that goes far beyond her awards and performances. She left a lesson that mental health matters, that being vulnerable is a sign of strength, and that speaking the truth can heal more than silence ever could. Melissa has taken that lesson to heart. She often uses her platform to encourage others to seek help, to talk about their feelings, and to never be embarrassed by their struggles. She knows how hard it can be to appear strong when your heart is breaking, and she reminds people that even the strongest souls sometimes need to rest and heal. In interviews, she speaks softly but confidently, like someone who has seen the worst and chosen kindness anyway. In recent years, Melissa and her husband, Timothy Busfield, have built a life based on peace and creativity. They still act right and produce, but they also enjoy the quiet moments, the laughter of family dinners, the beauty of small towns, the comfort of home. Melissa has learned that real success isn't about being famous or wealthy. It's about finding love, balance, and honesty in your everyday life. When fans meet her now, they don't just see Laura Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie. They see a woman who survived Hollywood, who found her own voice, and who continues to inspire others through her openness. Many have written to her saying that her stories, especially her reflections on Patty Duke, gave them courage to face their own battles. Melissa often says those letters mean more to her than any award ever could, in a way. Her truth about Patty Duke is also her truth about herself. Both women were child stars who faced pressure and pain. Both battled inner demons. And both, in the end, found freedom through honesty. Their journeys remind us that no matter how dark life may seem, there's always a path toward light, if we have the courage to speak and the heart to listen. As Melissa looks to the future, she continues to live by the simple, powerful message. She shared with the world, "Our struggles don't define us. They shape us." That belief has become her guide, not just as an actress, but as a wife, mother, author, and survivor. At 61, Melissa Gilbert has told her truth about fame, about healing, and about the woman who taught her that being real is far more beautiful than being perfect. Her story, and Patty Duke's, are reminders that the most lasting kind of fame doesn't come from the spotlight. It comes from kindness, courage, and the choice to tell the truth, no matter how hard it might be.